What are some not safe for work history facts that do not get taught in schools? Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. Peter the Great scoured the Russian Empire in search of dwarfs and giants in an effort to breed a race of each. While he couldn't find enough giants, he found many dwarfs. He would bake a huge pie and have a dwarf get naked and wait inside it to jump out and scare guests. In addition to using them as regular stewards and servants and such. That was the tip of Peter's crazy. He also liked dentistry so much he would make courtiers let him pull their healthy teeth. Then he would label them and put them in a display case. He had a museum of birth defects. Mostly the bodies of deformed babies killed by their parents at birth. The curator of his museum was a giant. After the giant died, Peter put his body in the museum. He thought coffins were so cool that he made them for fun, and illegalized burying people in bags, as Russians had done. In short, Peter the Great is one of my favorite historical figures. John F. Kennedy was dating Miss Denmark in the 1940s, and when they stayed at Sumter House in Charleston, the FBI bugged their room, because they thought she may be a Nazi spy. Turns out they didn't hear a lot of conversation, but instead a lot of not safe for work time. Tapes are in the Library of Congress for those interested. John F. Kennedy was dating Miss Denmark. Wow, just looked her up. The reason the FBI thought she was a Nazi spy was that she was Adolf Hitler's companion during the 1936 Summer Olympics. You mean to say Hitler and JFK were in my opinion brothers? The real today I learned. John Harvey Kellogg, one of the Kellogg brothers who invented breakfast cereal, advocated for sewing silver wire through boys' foreskin to prevent them from fapping. Strange fellow. He also was super into shitting. Like, he invented cereal and other foods so it would give a workout to your colon. And he made a chair that supposedly shook and made you shit yourself. And he had a sanitarium that famous people such as President Taft went to, and the residents there got 3 enemas a day. It was a sort of cult almost. There's a movie about his sanatorium called The Road to Wellville. When Marie Antoinette was imprisoned by the French citizens, they took her kids. Then they had her oldest son raped by prostitutes so that he would contract their STDs. They then tried to use this as grounds to try her for abusing her children. The accusations went nowhere, so the poor kid was given a ton of venereal diseases for nothing. The accusations went nowhere. Weren't the Revolutionary Courts kangaroo bullshit anyway? Yes, that's how pathetic their attempts were. A court that would have found her guilty of poisoning the air by breathing found such accusations baseless. Death by exile. French President Félix Faure died getting a blowjob from his mistress. He had a petite mort, followed by a grande mort. He came. Then he went, veni, vidi, veni. Thomas Granger was the first juvenile to be executed in what would become the USA. He was convicted of buggery with a mare, a cow, 2 goats, several sheep, 2 calves, and a turkey, and hung in September 1642. Old MacDonald had a fetish. E-I-I-O, Granger danger. In addition to all the other hijinks Columbus got up to, in later years, he ran a sex slave business from the New World. He remarked in a letter to a friend that 9-year-old girls were a particularly hot item with the nobility of Europe. Egyptians also had a priestess called the god's wife whose job was to perform sex acts on a statue of a deity. That's statutory rape, isn't it? Lyndon Johnson was known for pulling out his pecker during meetings, which he named, no kidding, Jumbo. I always thought he missed a good thing by not naming it LBJ, Lyndon's Big Johnson. Yeah, kinda makes you long for a simpler time, when the president could whip out his dong in the Oval Office and it wouldn't be an international incident. He used to also call people in while he was taking horrific shits and conduct meetings with them in the bathroom while he finished, and, if they didn't, he'd leave the door open and shit while talking to them from the bathroom as they stood in another room. The Welsh would often go to England to steal sheep. This was punishable by death. So when they were caught they would say that they went there to frick the sheep, which was not punishable by death. Okay, I need a source for this. And now, after 20 goddamn years on this planet, I finally find out why the Welsh are sheep sugars. They just say they were stealing them now to try to diminish the bad reputation. Johnny Appleseed didn't go around planting apple seeds just because. He sold the trees to settlers and they used the apples to make booze. Tasty apples are a mutation, and apples trees used to make edible apples don't come from seeds. They come from grafting other tasty apple trees. If I remember right, the taste of an apple is purely random. No relation to the apple that spawned it. Only surefire way is the grafting. Every seed in an apple will grow a tree with a different kind of apple. Apples are cloned so that the flavor stays the same. You're blowing my freaking mind right now. This is all new shit I've learned about apples. Anne Frank's diary talked a lot about masturbation, but most of it was edited out. The US had a eugenics program into the 70s that sterilized thousands of women, mostly black. Cool. They would often do this under the guise of an emergency appendectomy post-birth. A woman gave birth to a rape baby and didn't know why she could never have children after. She was able to receive damages. Look up Buck v. Bell. I actually didn't know until recently, but the core of Discovery only ate meat and had incredible constipation. One day they all ate pills they named thunderclappers, which made them shit out everything immediately, but the pills had a bit of metal in them, so if you go out on the same trail as the core of Discovery with a metal detector, you can find the exact place Lewis, Clark and the rest of the core took the biggest shits of their lives. That metal was mercury, and you can indeed trace their path with a metal detector. Do they still sell those? Asking for a friend. Just get yourself some sugar-free gummy bears. JFK cheated on his wife and was a super sex addict. Dude fricked a lot of women, even saying if doesn't have sex 3 times a day he gets headaches, and he had a hell of a pickup line. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the president of your country. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask if you can do the president of your country. Fixed that for you. Everybody say hi to the BuzzFeed interns taking notes. Notes. You assume too much. Control C. The ancient Greeks were super gay. I mean really mega super gay. My history teacher said calling them gay isn't accurate. They were omnisexual. Men, women, goats, plants if the mood struck them, and minerals when there wasn't anything else around. This is correct. I don't know about non-humans, so I am doubtful of that, but they didn't have a concept for gay. The only thing they really expected was that you eventually had kids so your family did not die out. They also were okay with pederasty. I draw the line at doing it with pedestals. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more r/AskReddit content. Be sure to check out our playlist, link in the description below.